Hey everyone, I hope you are doing well. Welcome to another episode of the Student Centered World podcast. Today's episode brought me so much joy when I was recording. Often, I will have conversations with those who are members of A Passion for Progress, becoming a 100% student-centered educator, about whatever's on their mind. It might be an issue they're having in the classroom. It might be, trying to figure out a lesson plan, or just sometimes it's just about life. But at the current time, all of my students were doing pretty awesome in the classroom. So nobody was really having any concerns or needed me for anything. So I reached out to my email subscribers and I said, I normally do this for my students, but I'm curious if anybody would like to chat. And Val from Hawaii, so first off, I was immediately jealous because Hawaii is my favorite place on the planet, reached out and said she would love to chat. So Val teaches middle school and has for the past 17 years. She is a science teacher. And our conversation went into how their school district was preparing to open back up and the plans that they had in place and the committees that they had together. And it was so utterly impressive what they were able to come up with and the challenges that they were facing and how they were overcoming them. And I really think anybody who is either struggling with a reopening plan or is getting ready to reopen, or maybe you have reopened, but it isn't really going as well as it could be, can get so much out of this episode. And to boot, in the middle of our conversation, one of her colleagues, Sarah, came in, who was an instructional assistant who used to be a science teacher. And so the three of us just sort of had a great conversation about what they're doing for the kids, what they're doing for the teachers, and how they are planning to move forward with all of this. Now, as a disclaimer, you know me, and if you've watched my live videos in our Facebook group or anything, you know that I am a big promoter of rolling with it when tech doesn't work perfectly, because of course that's life, and I don't ever want to look totally polished all the time, because that's not accurate, and I don't want you to think that that is the way that things have to be. And of course, the recording for the first couple of minutes of this didn't save, because life 2020. I don't know what you want to say. So the very beginning of this was just a little bit of Val introducing herself, telling us about where she's from. And one of the first questions that I had asked her is what she is struggling with the most right now. And she had said that she knows her students' abilities and she knows where they are educationally, but if she were to see them on the street, she wouldn't know who they are. And that was something that she was struggling with the most. But again, with the reopening coming, she was trying to figure out how to adapt all of that. So I hope you get a lot out of today's podcast and enjoy.
Welcome to the Student Centered World podcast, where we talk about all things hands-on teaching and keeping your energy and sanity in the classroom. This teacher turned consultant is making it her mission to help as many teachers as possible become the best version of themselves and keep their passion for teaching on fire. It's her hope that we never forget why we desire to have a passion for educational progress. This is Student Centered World, and this is Jen Bry Soccer.
So there will be about 50 kids on campus, because we're taking 100 kids and we're splitting them, and we're saying, okay, 50 kids on these days and 50 kids on these other 2 days. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So it's like an A-B type schedule.
Yeah,
kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of like an A-B schedule. So we run Tuesday through Thursday. Mondays we're on campus with office hours for the entire day. So the kids just pop in and out depending on whether they need help with a particular assignment. And then the work is just given out asynchronously on Mondays.
Okay.
Tuesdays through Fridays, we actually teach.
Okay.
We have content that we're actually teaching. And so we will have the kids come back, and they will initially start in learning labs.
Okay.
They'll be housed in one area with a few teachers. And these are the non-classroom teachers that'll be supervising. And they will be let out at 1:50, I believe it is, to go to individual teachers for help. So during our normal office hours, they would come to us in person.
That's actually a really great setup for getting everybody back in the classroom.
Yeah, so it's kind of slowly, not just easing the kids back, but easing the teachers back, because I think
Yes.
there's a lot of apprehension about having warm bodies in the classroom because of this whole health safety thing.
Sure.
Yeah, and then a few weeks after that, what they're going to want to do is they're going to want those kids to start rotating in and out of at least one class.
Okay.
And then a few weeks after that, they want the kids to start rotating out of all 6 classes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a gradual, and then come January, which is our second semester, they're going to start bringing the entire student body back in groups.
Okay.
So we're starting small.
No, that's good though. I'm excited to
Oh.
hear that your school is doing it right, doing things gradually and making sure that things are being done appropriately as opposed to just some that are just like, it's fine. It's fine.
Oh, administration is great. I mean, my principal is awesome.
That's fantastic.
He was very, when the state initially started talking about lockdowns, about shutting down the state, he was actually very forward thinking, and he already was starting to, put this plan in place, and he ordered all these hot spots, and he ordered all these PPE stuff for the staff and for the kids. And he did this way ahead of everybody else. So when we were getting our stuff in, people were scrambling, like, where are we going to get it from? Oh my God, it's not coming in. Yeah. So we have about over 1,000 laptops loaned out, along with hotspots. Not 1,000 hotspots, but
Right.
we have enough hotspots where all of our student population is connected. So we don't have any kids who do not have access to technology right now.
That is fantastic.
Yes. And for us, that's amazing, because we also service a homeless shelter back here.
Okay.
So yeah, he's been really great. I mean, very forward thinking.
Yeah.
It was funny because I tease him, because I think, like, wow, is he like psychic or something? Because he says, I really think that the state's going to shut down within the next couple of weeks. And sure enough, the state shuts down. Oh, we might be reopening in another week or two. Sure enough, the state reopens again. So it's been like, wow.
He's got insider info somehow.
Or something.
That's awesome. Well, that's certainly, I think, one of the biggest hurdles that a lot of people are trying to manage is not having that support. Some places are terrible. So that's certainly something that you have going in your favor right now, that you have the backing that you need to be able to do this well.
It's been really, I mean, we have a committee on campus that is strictly for reopening of the school. So They meet every so often, and then they discuss protocols and all these things. So it's really great. I mean, they've gotten face shields for all the kids. The schools purchase this now. So a face shield for each kid. They've got disposable face masks. So if the kid comes to school without face mask, we can give them one for that day. They can just toss it. So when they're in the classroom, they are required to wear both the face shield and the face mask.
Okay.
Yeah, and teachers are required to wear a face mask, but it's optional if you want to wear the actual face shield too.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then our classrooms are air conditioned. They're allowing us to leave our doors and windows open.
Oh, that's good.
Air conditioning running, just to get that circulation when the kids
that's really smart. That's really smart.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, your biggest concern, you said, has been that you haven't been able to really see the kids, which is very understandable. But they're coming back. So are you, I'm trying to figure out how to word this. Like, are you nervous because you have, like, an idea of who they're going to be, or, are you just going to sort of take it as they come at you? Like, will you have the same kids that you're teaching now? Like, what is that going to look like?
As far as the kids coming back, we're not really sure. There was another, a survey, I guess, sent out to the parents, and there will be one more before we actually bring the kids back in A and B groups, asking whether you want to continue with that, or do you want the kids to come back face to face. So depending on the numbers that stay out, they're either going to have us collapse a period so that we would teach in person certain periods, and one period would be dedicated strictly for distance learning. So we'd still be doing the teaching, lesson and everything. Or if there are too many kids, then he's thinking of just collapsing teams.
Okay.
And then the teams would kind of absorb all of the kids who are on distance learning. And then the kids coming back on campus, they would have to farm out those kids, the rest of the teams.
People, hi.
Okay, I'll introduce you. This is Sarah Iverson. Hi, Sarah.
Hi there, how are you?
She's one of the instructional coaches here. She used to be the DH for science.
Okay.
And now she's an instructional coach. So she's actually been a really great, huge support.
I am sure, yes. That's probably one of the biggest jobs right now.
Yeah, and so like she's the one, so a lot of times if teachers will call in sick and they cannot teach virtually, she might be one to jump in to do the substitute teaching.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then they're working with the substitute teachers to actually train them to do this online with the kids.
Smart. That's really smart.
Yeah, so they've been working like for the last month or two.
Yeah.
To get these substitutes trained and on board. So they have like these Google Meets 101 classes.
Yeah. And then
awesome.
It's actually good because we had them come in and we watched them and then we just took notes.
That's fantastic. I was just saying, it sounds like your school just really has a handle on how to do this properly. There's so many schools that just they're slapping it together, or they're just trying to make things normal, and it's a mess. So it's nice to know that you guys are taking the time and you're spending the money where it needs to be spent and doing all that to make sure it's a good experience for the students and for the teachers and even the substitutes. It's a good thing you guys have going for sure. When the kids do come back in, are you going to have it where, I'm just making sure I understand, like you're teaching some kids at home at the same time, like on the screen at the same time, or are they just going to have their own assignments to do if they're still home and you have others in the classroom? Like, what's that looking like?
I don't think we're going to be teaching online in person.
Okay.
So it'll be strictly just in person or
Okay.
online. So it's either collapsing periods to teach online, or it's collapsing teams. So the whole team teaches that group of distance learning kids, and the rest of the school will be teaching in person.
Gotcha. So there will be no teaching the kids in the classroom and outside of the classroom at the same time. Good.
Oh my gosh. It was ridiculously hard to do that.
It
with one
is.
child sitting in here. It's like, it's craziness, because then you sacrifice 30 kids online to help one kid who's in the classroom.
Right.
Which is,
There are ways that some schools have been doing it well. They've been using a lot of group work with it. So they're creating groups, but like there's some kids that are at home and some kids that are in the classroom, and they're all virtually on the group together. So even if they are in the classroom, they might be in the same group, but everybody's on a computer. So they don't have to be near one another to be working together. And then they're doing, digital simulations or, escape rooms or whatever, and they're able to work together. And it's good for the kids that are at home too, because they're still interacting with their peers, even though that they're not there. So even when you guys are trying to think about collapsing and all that, that might be something to consider, like bigger projects or that type of thing for the kids. Because that's one thing that I've heard a lot is the kids that are at home, when some kids are in school, it's harder for them to kind of feel like they still belong, that they're not just, going through the motions, that there is that unity amongst their peers still.
We are bringing back about 100 kids starting next week, but they're going to be put into learning labs.
Right. What does that look like for you guys?
So we've got 6th and 7th grade together, and then 8th grade in a separate lab. And then we'll have 2 to 4 teachers who are currently non-classroom teachers monitoring the lab. So the kids need to bring their computers and their earbuds if they have them. And then essentially the premise behind it is to give them that quiet space to work.
Gotcha.
Because I think a lot of these kids don't have it at home.
Right.
And so they're not engaged in the virtual lessons.
Right.
So our thought process is that they're not engaged because they're either distracted at home or they're not quite sure what to do. So we're hoping that by having these adults in the room to kind of be like, oh, don't forget, you got to click here, or whatever it's going to be, they'll be successful.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was trying to figure out what that meant, if it meant that they were just like learning in smaller groups. So they're basically taking the digital work, but they're able to do it at school.
Right.
That's fantastic. That's a really great idea.
She's going to be one of the.
I'll be in. We all have shifts to sign up for, so.
Gotcha. And then is there social distancing in those areas, or is it kind of like
we've set it up so there'll be like there's 70 spots available in the CAF, but we're only going to have 30 to 40 in there. And then we're going to run this for 2 weeks. And then the hope is the third week of it, we can start sending some of the kids back to their classes where they would still sit in the room and connect digitally, but they're just going to be physically in the room. And then this can also let us know, like, what's the movement going to look like when kids start coming back?
Right.
Do we need to adjust so that, you know, this grade level releases at this time and do staggered releases? Or is there, like, are we going to come up with issues with once the kids move around?
Right. I know in my kids' school, they put markers all over every hallway that are 6 feet apart, so they know how far they need to be in all angles. They said that's been very helpful. Teachers alike, because, you know, you get involved and you're not paying attention even though you should be, and it's good to just have that visual of where everybody needs to be. So that's certainly been helpful.
So, I mean, we're going to see, like, I think part of it, the main concern of having it is kids aren't successful at home. So we're hoping that at least bringing them on campus will get them back to, like, the mindset. You gotta do this, and hopefully give them the right spot. And then hopefully it'll allow us to kind of test our protocols.
Right.
Ensure that if we do open back up in January, are we really truly ready to go?
Right. And is there a plan B if you're not? Or are we just hoping on a wish and a prayer?
I mean, I'm sure that we'll probably make a plan B, C, D, E, and all the all the lights.
Right.
Just for right now, we're testing it out. We also have the kids coming from 9:45 to 2:30. So we're also aware that we might need to open the kids up to coming on campus at 8:15. Because that 8:15 to 9:45 block is for the kids to work.
Okay.
But they're not.
Fair.
So, right? So it's like we're hoping that this resolves some of the issues, but we're also aware that we may have to have them on campus from 8:15 to 2:30.
Right.
And basically force them, like, I know it says office hours, but, like, that means you should be working.
Right. Right. And, you know, a lot of kids, like, their parents are trying to navigate it too, so they might not even realize what that means, like, to be telling their children, okay, now you need, or, you know, the kids are saying, oh no, it's fine, it's just office hours. That's, you know, there's so many conversations going on in every single home that's completely different from the next home. That's one of the harder things right now, is kind of everybody's interpretation of what it should look like is different. And I know that's where a lot of teachers are struggling too, because in their mind, they're saying, okay, the kids are going to be doing X, Y, and Z, but the translation's not getting out there the way they're envisioning it. And then they're either getting different results than they wanted, or they're getting no results, or the kids have just walked away completely. And it's definitely all about communication. So have you guys been very open communicating to the families like that this is your plan too, or are you guys just trying to figure it out and then you're going to release that?
No, the kids who are returning have already received letters from administration, and then they're getting phone calls, and then I don't know if the whole school is aware that students are being brought back.
Yeah.
It's more so the communication is with those individuals who are going to be part of the bring back.
Gotcha. So you guys reached out to the kids that you felt needed it the most. Got it. And have they been fairly receptive to that, or the families at least? Because we know the kids probably aren't, but.
Actually, a lot of the kids want to come back to campus.
Yeah.
And, you know, when I ask my one student who comes to me, you know, on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, she said, oh, it's so much easier just to be here in school.
Yeah.
Because at home, there's so many different distractions that she can't focus.
Right.
Here, she has somebody right here that she can say, Miss, I don't understand this.
Right.
Or, you know, I mean, I don't know how to work this program.
Right.
So, you know, it's a lot easier for her to be here than to be home. And then mom works, so, you know, she's home with her siblings.
Right.
And you know, it doesn't always go. It doesn't always go as planned.
No, mine are constantly fighting over who has what cord and like things that just don't matter in that moment at all. Yeah, no, I understand completely.
And, you tell them, oh, just unmute yourself, and they're like, no, I can't, miss. It's like, no, just unmute yourself, and they're like, no, you don't understand. I
Right,
can't.
right.
And then they unmute themselves, and it's like chaos in the background. It's like, yes, please mute yourself.
Right, right. And I'm interested to see. So I worked at a school when I first started teaching that was built in the 70s with this concept of there were no walls, that every classroom was kind of just sort of divided off, and it was this, whatever idea it was at the time. But every student that I taught said that when they got to college, they could study through anything because they were used to always having noise in the background. So I'm kind of wondering long term if this could, I don't want to say benefit because that's not the word I'm looking for, but give them a skill of being able to concentrate a little bit better, even though they're distracted, but just with, background it's not being as jarring for them.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Our high school is actually set up that way.
Yeah.
Is it?
So the middle school here, I mean, we're all individual classrooms, but once they get up to the high school, it's an open area, and then they're sectioned off only by partitions, right?
Partitions,
Yeah.
not even like floor to ceiling partitions. It's like those whiteboard things.
Yep.
So you can clearly hear what's happening in the other room.
Right.
So a lot of it is being in one group and then being sent out to individual pods.
Okay.
A lot of times, but
that's interesting.
Yeah, but you can definitely hear what's going on everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
And they have all the teachers in what the kids call the fishbowl in the middle. So they have they're in the open glass area, so the kids can see them all the time.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting. Here, I'm like, wow, I wonder if teachers knew they were going to be called the fishbowl.
Right.
Probably not.
No, it's definitely interesting to kind of think, there's so many people that go right to the negative. This is going to be so detrimental for all of our students. They're all going to be so many years behind in their schoolwork, which first off, kids are resilient. They're going to figure it out. But I kind of wonder, what other hidden benefits might there be to all of this that we don't see right now because we're just seeing as it's chaos and it's hard and all that kind of thing. There might be things like this, it is easier for them to tune out noise because now they're used to studying with siblings running around and stuff. Who knows?
And I think, and it depends what the teacher pushes to. But I think organization definitely will be a skill that comes out of this.
Yes.
Because if you're not organized and you can't keep track of everything going on,
right,
you're definitely not going to be successful. So being able to actually teach them that skill, and say, hey, so our kids, they have to do a morning check-in before they come to advisory class. So there are 3 things that we tell them to do. Check your email, check your Infinite Campus for your grades, because you should always know what you're at.
Right.
And then check your Google Classroom to see if you have anything due today or in the next few days. So they check that every day before they come to us.
Right.
And it's just making that a habit for them. So, if you can grow that habit, I think eventually, even not just in middle school, but high school, in college and beyond, being able to set that kind of schedule for yourself every morning, check your email, check your Google, check whatever you need to check before your day starts, so you know what's going to happen before it happens.
Right.
So teaching them to be more proactive than reactive.
Yes. And I think that's such a soft skill that the kids are lacking these days. So, I've been saying over and over again that I think that this whole pandemic, as awful as it has been, really has sort of thrust education forward. As much as so many people are saying, no, it's keeping us back and everything. I think it really has propelled us into, we are a tech world, whether we like it or not. And these kids need to be prepared for that. And how do I put this? We've coddled them a little bit in the past several years, not making sure that they know what their grades are and what their homework is. And now they don't have a choice because here it is and we're on a screen now, or, I'm not going to see you for another 3 days or whatever the case may be. So I think it's helpful in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And then also, teaching them to see, okay, if you got D's and F's, but if you're filling out your form and you're telling me that you don't have missing work, or you don't have anything to correct, how can that be that you're getting an F if none of that exists?
Right.
So being able to teach them the connection between getting all this done and making those corrections in senior teachers, and then getting those grades, those better grades.
Yes.
So, it's a lot of teaching them, what is that, self-advocacy too?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you know what? I don't understand this. I guess I need to go to office hours, which
Right.
is what we're trying to get the kids to do right now.
Yeah. And
Whether
I mean,
we force them to do it or
Right.
whether they go on their own.
but your students are at a perfect age to be learning that. I was talking to a third grade teacher the other night too, and she was like, this isn't something we would have ever been teaching them before, but now, they're all learning how to email their teacher if they have a question. And it's skills that they're going to need in the world that they're going into. So the younger you can start them, the better.
Yeah. I also wonder too if we change the title of office hours to like homework support.
that might actually be
if
better.
more would show up, because
Yeah.
that idea of what is office hours. I mean, I remember when I went to college, I was like, what is that?
Right.
That's the weirdest thing. Like, I have to go to your office,
Right.
And it
Office
wasn't-
hours. You're obviously there doing clerical work. I won't want to bother
Right.
you,
Right. So it wasn't until I went to one that I was like, oh, so basically you're here to help us.
Right. Right.
So I'm thinking kids probably have no idea what office hours means. We
Yeah.
even had a parent come to the school and asked, like, so am I supposed to bring my child here for office hours? Like, just the whole notion of it was just like, what?
Right. And I think that's been one of the bigger hangups, I guess you can say right now, is that we get what we're talking about and we understand the directions that we're giving and the terminology that we're using, but like the kids might not. And if they might not, their parents certainly don't. So
Right.
that's one thing I've been pushing to teachers over and over again, is make it as easy as possible that they understand what you're talking about. I was chatting with one teacher and she said that this girl was really struggling to turn in work, and she finally had a one-on-one Zoom call, and they were doing online journals, and she just didn't know how to paste her stuff into it and was too shy to ask because she knew that she had already been taught how to do it and didn't want to ask again for fear that she was going to get yelled at or whatever. So she just wasn't. And the teacher was like, you know what, why don't I just go in and I can paste it for you? It'll take me 2 minutes and that way you'll have everything ready. And all of a sudden it was a big turnaround. So it's like, you have to have those little conversations and stuff, but sometimes we think that what we're saying is getting, and that's just teaching. Sometimes we think what we're saying or doing is getting across, but it isn't. So it's important to look at it a bunch of different ways to find out what's going to work. And if it's changing it to homework help time, so be it.
Right. And that's why I'm just wondering, would more show up if that's what we called it?
Yeah. I mean, you can always do a big, grand reopening or something. I don't know what you would call it, but hey, now instead of office hours, we're having homework time, and you can call in, some, you can make a hokey commercial type thing with all of you guys doing some sort of goofball, one person throws into the next person on the screen, that thing, and the kids would want to watch it, and then they would understand it.
Like a commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, they're like, oh, I can go get help with my homework. It's so nice that they've started doing that,
That is, yes.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
It's all about the presentation.
It's well, we've been having it all along.
Yeah, we've been doing it, but you didn't realize it. So now
That's where you just smile and nod and you're really happy you're wearing a mask because they can't actually see the face. They're like, really?
Yeah, I love wearing my mask.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, that, if I could give you guys one piece of advice, that would be it. And it seems to, like I said, to be the biggest hiccup that a lot of schools are having is you guys understand the plan and you think they understand the plan, but they might not. So if you change it, like I said, make a funny video, do something that just at least catches their attention and use terminology that they get and simplify it, you'll probably have way more kids engaging with that because now they know it's a thing.
Yeah, I have noticed a bunch of schools who already opened up and had kids come back, did songs of what the new protocols were.
Yes.
so kids would know.
We might have to do something.
I
Yes,
feel like
my kids' elementary school, all the teachers did, I think it was at the car wash, but they changed it to at the
Oh.
hand wash. And all
Yeah.
the teachers are on there washing their hands and showing how far apart they had to be and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So the video, they love the videos. And you throw it on TikTok or something, forget it.
Yeah, right, yeah. So we do have Instagram, Facebook, and I think Twitter. So we could throw it up on those social medias so they would see it.
Yeah, definitely. And then if you do have like PTO parents or something like that, they can share it on their own pages. Or I know where I live, there's a lot of neighborhoods, and each neighborhood has their own Facebook group. You can like try to find a parent from each one that can share it in there, and then that way they see it. It's really just a matter of making it go, I don't want to say viral because that's obviously not what you want necessarily to have happen, but like amongst all of your people that it gets shared, where it needs to be.
Exactly.
Well, I'm really sorry. I have kids in my waiting room right now. Yes, I have homework support.
See, there you go. It's happening already.
And I got 3 kitties right here.
Perfect. Well, I will let you go and help them. This was an awesome little conversation to have. Like, honestly, if you guys or your school or anybody needs help, or when you guys start getting the kids back in there, if you need ideas, like the engagement's not going back up or anything like that, you can feel free to reach out, and I'd really be happy to help you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.